He says, we think we've passed an important deal. I agree. Because the conversation, our thinking, our way of promoting is not about how do we go out and create more church. That is not your job. Jesus did not teach us to pray, thy church come. And he did not say, I've come to give you church and give it to you more abundantly. And if you think that your major way, your job is to go out and be church better, is to go out and bless people, to figure out as a missionary people, how does the Anglican mission in America, how does it become a way that America is better because we are being people of blessing. More on that when if I think about it, come back. And if it helps you to know, we're down to 32 minutes and 28 seconds. So your redemption is close at hand. Now, by the way, how we do this in terms of being people of blessing, what that does is that puts us as partners with God, not the other way around. See, I grew up in a very functional Christian world where I needed God to help me manage my life, and that was his primary job, was to bless me and get me through life and layer on a bunch of, as I was, a good kid and all that kind of stuff. Let me tell you, your archbishop has said it, or the archbishop, he's not yours, I don't remember, but I'll say it better. He tried to say it this way. The church does not have a mission. The mission has a church. You see, because if you get that priority rearranged, then you go off in all kinds of Babel building stuff that will not get done what it is we're supposed to do. For instance, just to give you the chronology, we don't get the people of God till Genesis 12, but the mission of God was already underway in the garden. So what was God doing all those years? If he was just play act. When God comes into the garden, he comes, that whole episode, you remember he comes in, Adam, where are you? Now, do you anyone here really believe God had misplaced Adam? I'm just curious. He had a chip in him, for crying out loud. And there just weren't that many people to keep up. What kind of a bungling kind of God do you want? Really, this is who you want to saddle up with? So, what is that whole episode about? It's to get us, to understand that it's God who is on mission. He has been on mission from day one. And so, but he decided to create a people for several reasons. And we don't know. It does seem that it's more fun for him that way. Honestly. Haven't you been to great places where, you want to bring your friends and help them experience that to a great restaurant or some great destination? And so once you finally get to bring your friends there and they sample the food or they sample this country and they go, you were right. This place is fabulous. And your own enjoyment goes, well, don't you know when Jesus woke up on Easter Sunday, he's a hot dog. Well, first of all, for waking up. But secondly, I get to take my people to my favorite place. He just told them, I'm going away to prepare a place for you. When I go, I'm going to come again. I'm going to bring you. So the point is that God has created a people so that when he acts, because he's acting, he's not waiting on us. We don't own the mission. It's God's mission. He's prosecuting the mission whether or not we get on board or not. This is craziness. And so, but he wants some people that when he acts, some people in the room that go, hey, that was you, wasn't it, God? He said, yeah, that's me. Because he's a glory hound. He loves to show off. And so when you go and say, way to go, God, that was God. He said, yeah, I can do more than that. You want to see something? And so you've got, and we're at another one of those moments, but we're not going to see those moments if we shrink wrap God down to building him a platform to show up with on Sunday morning. Are we crazy? This is a God who shows off in all creation. And when we are people of blessing, it just builds. The platform is at street level, not at altar level. Because that's the way he does it. I don't talk about that anymore. So the mission is God's, not ours. He's not sitting around waiting on church people to get it, to prosecute it. In fact, I used to preach the sermon. There's no plan B if we don't get that. Is crock-a-doodle-doo. God did not take his cues for Pentecost from the folks in the upper room. He's way ahead of them on this. You think, well, I got a bunch of people gathered up. I got to do something. Are you kidding? I mean, we got a winter conference. I might as well come up with something. Are you kidding? What part of this did we miss? We've just been called and deployed into a mission that's already well underway. And it takes if you don't own the sucker, you can kind of be a little more relaxed about it. Nobody's poaching on your territory. If it's kingdom, it ain't yours. I mean, who gets the silver or whatever, it ain't yours. I don't talk about that anymore. The room went very quiet. Crowd turns hostile. I can see it now. All right, so go ahead and get the silver. Plunder them. All right, never mind. All right, so, and by the way, if that slide were to come back up to remind me what I'm talking about, I'm talking about a redemptive mission, which means the entire spectrum of human experience. That's the mission. Everything sin broke, everything sin marred, God is addressing in his redemption. Which means, you see, I grew up in a tribe. I told you my tribe of origin. We saved souls in my tribe. We left other body parts for other people to deal with. But we hung souls on our pelts. I mean, that's what we went after. And so, but the redemptive mission of God, I have clients, of course, like you, that are involved in gaining freedom for women out of sex slavery. I have clients that are involved in educational initiatives, people who are involved in social justice issues. You know why these are important? Because they reflect the entire redemptive mission of God. They reflect what God is really after, because Jesus said, I've come to give you life. And the kingdom is all about life. It's not about church stats. It's not about church activity. It's not about the ways we've shrink-wrapped it down into think if we have a good Sunday, that's how the kingdom's going. Are you kidding? It's about the quality of life for people, because Jesus said, because sin diminishes life as it was intended. And so everything that we get involved that helps people life is doing good is part of the larger kingdom initiative of partnering with God in his redemptive mission. It's way more fun once we get liberated in our scorecard keeping and what we celebrate from just how many people we're able to gather around a common event on a Sunday whose life rhythms and interests match that. It's much more liberating to see how can we be people of blessing, orchestrating and synergizing and catalyzing the doing of good and the lifting of life of people in our community so that people are actually better off. See, I grew up when we had our doctrinal councils and all that kind of stuff to see who would be ordained, and who would be a deacon. And because ours is very simple in Baptist, because we can't read. So we had to get it down to just two little boxes, deacons and then everything else. And so, I'm going to tell you how many ordination councils I've sat on. We always ask people like, do you believe in the yes? Do you believe in the Trinity? Yes. Do you believe in the Scriptures? Yes. Do you how many wives do you have? Or how many, husbands or whatever group I'm with? And so, and then how your kids, are they behaving? All this kind of stuff. I've never been on an ordination council where we said, how's that loving your neighbor thing going? Now, isn't that interesting, since when the lawyer had his big honking meeting with Jesus and Jesus decides to, simplify things for us again. Because they had 613 commands. The lawyer said, could you put these in order? I think you can boil it down to really just love God with all you got and love your neighbors yourself. I think I'll cover it. Now, what if he was telling the truth and not just making up scripture? I mean, what if he really meant that? I mean, so wouldn't our scorecard be better to match that, if that's the order of stuff? And so when he talks about, by the way, then he tells a story, of course, where church people don't get it. And the people that do get it aren't part of the crew on Sunday. And so because what Jesus is trying to say, because he's trying to get church people, he's saying, look, I mean, by the way, everybody in that story met their scorecard. The Levite met his scorecard because he didn't mess around with someone who might be dead, which would defile him, and then he couldn't priest for 7 days. He'd be knocked out of temple rotation. Holy cow, who knows when he would get back in and all that kind of stuff. So he probably thanked God that night that he was able to resist the temptation so he could stay, right on his priestly duties. Went to bed with a totally clear conscience. Wrong, but clear. And the priest, the Levite, but it takes a Samaritan who comes along, who actually gets off his donkey and helps this guy, which is the book I'm writing now called Get Off Your Donkey. I'm considering using King James language just so people... The Anglican mission in America is all about getting off our donkeys and helping people, because the redemptive mission of God is all about the stuff that confront people every single day. Most people in here, I was up there like some of you looking out over the city today, working through, cereal or whatever else it was I'm supposed to have. I really wanted a Krispy Kreme, but... And I can tell you, what percentage of the population of Houston, if they woke up today with a great theological consternation that you brought into the room here? Now, not to diminish what I'm saying. I'm just saying, though, look how easy it is for us to forget. The homeless people who just hope to have enough food to get through the day. The parent whose kid is about to be suspended because they played hooky, and that suspension itself will be a death sentence for that kid. I mean, all of those things that people are concerned, that is where the redemptive mission of God is playing out. It's not playing out in our church services.